Okay, are you ready? I'll go take a shit so you can fuck my ass. I'll go take a shit so you can fuck my ass. I'll go take a shit so you can fuck my ass. You get it? Did you miss the whole song? It's I'll go take a shit so you can fuck my ass to the tune of you can get with this or you can get with that. Yeah. I sang, Bay and I have been playing around with it all day. And this is what we came to. Yeah. Willie, I swear to God, if you don't use something from these 10 extra minutes I've recorded.
Oh, the poop in my ass song is going in for sure. Are you kidding? A cold open like that? You don't let that get
Oh,
forced.
I was kind of hoping that would be our mailbox song, but you know, I'll settle. That's
Hey everybody, welcome to Is This Pinball, the only podcast that's willing to ask you straight to the face, is this fucking pinball? Did you bring pinball into my house? I'm Dylan Waite. With me today, as always, are Amy Langer
Hello.
and Willie Caldwell.
Hey, that's me. Welcome.
All right, let's get this train rolling on the train tracks. Who wants to go
as
first?
they say.
I'll go first.
Love it.
I'll kick this off. The pinball table that I brought today is the game Outer Wilds by Mobius Digital. It is a space exploration game that basically revolves around the fact that there is a mystery going on in the solar system and that it's up to you to figure out what's happening. And the only way to figure that out is through general atmospheric exploration. So it's kind of has a basis in like point and click adventure, but rather than it being like across like a 2D plane that most point and click is, it is instead like a open world exploration. The basic plot of the game is that you are a member of a very new space exploration program on a planet called Timber Hearth. You are in fact the newest member of this
Sorry,
space.
what's the planet called?
Timber Hearth. So timber like logs and hearth.
Timberhurst.
Timber Hearth.
Yeah.
Timber Hearth.
Why is everybody so bad at naming stuff? It's a terrible name.
Also a name that is terrible for a marble mouth like me to try and get out in any sort of way. It's just Timber Hearth.
Yeah, you didn't do your warm-ups. I was listening.
I know.
The tip of the
continue.
tongue, the shit in my ass.
No. We don't need it. We don't need it again.
Well, I just sit silent all day the day that we record because I really want like my words to be fresh. So I say nothing all day is really, it's been my technique.
I actually demand that I be the first person you talk to when we record, and so that you've forgotten how to pick up social cues and what communicating ideas is like to a person. That's how I want it.
Listen, it's draconian, but I understand. You know, you're the one doing the editing. I want to
Right.
make sure this is right for you. Anyway,
Thank you.
Draconian?
Of
What are
course.
we talking about? Spyro the Dragon?
Wow, Dylan, you're on one today, aren't you, bud? All right. I love it.
Your Type 5 is coming along so well. I'm really proud.
Very proud of you.
They're not going to boo me off the stage this week.
No, we have the hook for that now. The big hook that comes for you.
It's true. I also
the
imagine
real
that it's
kicker is
just
that I've been
Bea.
breaking into comedy clubs. All the seats are gone. The windows
just-
are smashed in. It's just me.
It's just one rat in the back, like looking at you disapprovingly. Like,
Wow,
Doesn't
here
like
I
it a
am
bit.
headlining at the Comedy Cellar. Thank you all for being here.
you knew you were gonna make it one of those days, but
So tell us about this pinball game.
Yeah, so back to Timberhoof and the name I can absolutely say. So you as this character, you wake up on the day of your initial launch, and that's how the game starts. You open your eyes, you see a planet overhead, you're at the base of this launch tower. And again, since this is a really new space program, everything that is built looks like it's put together with like tape and a dream. And so the design is actually really excellent. Like your spaceship just has like various ropes holding things on. It looks a little bit like a Conestoga
Yes.
wagon, but meant to go into
Love
space,
that.
I guess. And from there, the game really doesn't give you too much to go on. You are supposed to go to space. There are people already in space. There are 4 other planets in the solar system, and it says go for it. And so you hop in your spaceship, you fly off, and after 22 minutes of exploring whatever it is you want to do, so again, there's no direction to go. You see all the planets in the solar system. You can decide which one you want to fly towards. Amazingly, there's like 0 loading screens in this game. You just like hop in your spaceship, fly up, see all the planets, decide where you want to go. But after the first 22 minutes of your first trip, the sun goes supernova and everything explodes. And you immediately are brought back to the beginning. So you wake up again at the base of your launch tower on the day that you're supposed to go into space. No one else knows that you're stuck in some sort of time loop, but every 22 minutes the sun continues to explode and you keep getting punted back to the start of your first launch day. So
it's Majora's Mask rules.
It is. It absolutely is.
That stresses me out a lot.
It would stress me out too, except that there isn't a task to do within the 22 minutes that you have. Like, the thing about Majora's Mask that stressed me out is that I would, like, there was, like, a countdown clock, if I remember right, and, like, basically saying, okay, so I need to go to this section, talk to these people, do this thing, make sure I complete, like, this specific quest line before the 22 minutes are up. But in Outer Wilds, you basically, like, you could just go and just tool around for 22 minutes and do absolutely nothing. You're basically, again, trying to explore. The only currency in this game is knowledge. There's no enemies to fight. It's kind of like Myst, but on a timer. So you're walking around, you're trying to figure things out, you're solving puzzles, but there's the only thing that you have to gain from it is more knowledge that might help you figure out what exactly is going on. And for this reason, in my experience and what I've heard folks talk about it, is that a lot of players, like after like 3 or 4 hours of game time, just completely abandon the game, which is in fact what I did when I first picked it up too. I started playing it and I was like really into it, but like 4 hours passed and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go. I'm pretty sure I'm doing everything wrong, and I need some form of success that is measurable in my life right now. And so I turned it off and I didn't want to play it anymore. Except that at the end of last year, like towards the end of the last year, like when all the best of lists were coming out, there were a couple of folks from different like video game journalism venues that I respect that wouldn't stop shouting about the game and how good it was. So I
respect games journalists?
Well, I just find them really ethical is the thing. Is I think that there's a real ethics in games journalism that I can stand behind.
There was a whole war about it. Don't you remember?
That's true. What did they decide? They just no girls allowed. That was
true.
That was the decision they came to.
I've been undercover for years. It's harrowing. It's difficult, but I'm still here somehow. So these ethical game journalists recommended the game, and so I jumped back in, and it ended up being probably one of the most affecting game experiences I've had in a long time, for a number of reasons. It's a really incredibly designed game, in part, and that's part of the reason that it was easy to jump out of it, because so much of the game is done through implicit storytelling, and especially for someone like me who's kind of used to being railroaded in video games where like you have again that illusion of choice but no actual decision making skills, to be able to just like go into a game and do whatever you want, and also to have to like be really in tune with the environment of the game to like see what happens next, just feels completely foreign in a way that's really incredible. And also the game, like a couple weeks ago we were talking about like games that had a good ability to evoke feelings in a player that replicate real life feelings. And this particular game really tries to evoke the feelings one has when encountering the unknown, specifically fear and just general trepidation. There's a lot in the game that like is specifically built to make you feel fearful. And those things are counteracted with like moments of like revelation or success that like because you were like anxious or fearful or nervous feel like euphoric. It's all the puzzles in the game whenever I solved one of the puzzles, I felt like the smartest motherfucker on the planet. Like, I just felt so incredibly intelligent, even though this has been solved by dozens of other people and, like, you know, hundreds of dozens, just incredible and told other people. But it felt so personal to me that I was like, I am an incredible human. I solved this. I have, like, discovered something completely new that no one has seen before. And part of the reason that those discoveries...
That's usually an experience that people can only get from drugs.
Yeah, you know. That or, like, you know, I guess pretending like you've discovered lands that, like, indigenous people were living on for years. You know, it's a
hard-hitting political commentary coming right out of the gate.
I wasn't gonna let
Strap
Dylan
in,
have it all
folks.
this time, you know.
Well, here's the thing about that.
Yeah, go for it.
If you go back to the ice bridge, they came from somewhere else too. I'm just
No,
saying.
bad.
No, that's a bad take.
No.
Bad. This is a bad faith argument. And you have to go to the timeout corner and think about what you did.
Just talking about the ice
corner
bridge.
You
Yeah.
sardonic motherfucker. Get out of here.
I appreciate any, like, tongue-in-cheek joke that Willie Caldwell immediately needs to shut down. Like, no goofs, no secondary or tertiary goofs. Immediate shut down.
I'm the no fun police. We already established that. I'm here to tell you that your stupid thing is not pinball and that you all need to shut up and think long and hard about what you're trying to say here.
I mean, I appreciate that. I also feel that the one thing that I want to challenge is our love of 3 out of 5 pinballs, which we'll get to later in this review, as you'll find out. But what else I like about this? Just to go back to this game real fast. One of the things that I also really appreciate is that it is built for the player to, like, experience being wrong a lot of the time. One of the traits in the game is that, like, when you're in space, you can target a planet and autopilot towards it. But when you autopilot, it doesn't take into account things that might get in your way. So the number of times that I autopiloted towards a planet only to autopilot directly into the sun at the center of the solar system were innumerable times. Just, like, sitting on my couch trying to play this game, just, like, yelling fuck quietly to myself as I tried to maneuver around the sun, and found myself, like...
Autopilot into the Sun is my favorite Radiohead album.
Radiohead gets 5 out of 5 pinballs in a bad way, for sure. Fuck Radiohead.
Sorry, Amy, I didn't.
That's a hard
couldn't
agree.
let it go.
I feel like it was time that we finally told Radiohead what's what, so I appreciate the opportunity to do just that.
Wait, are we taking a moment to tell Radiohead's what's what? Because I can't with this fucking band.
No, they're awful. Radiohead is like the
awful.
Grateful Dead for hipsters.
Yeah, and while we're on the subject, Muse. Can we talk about Muse?
I hate Muse.
Yeah,
Yes.
fuck those guys.
I remember feeling like I was being gaslit. Like, all of my friends listened to Muse, and I was like, is this what we're doing now?
Yeah.
Have we all decided?
It is not.
Is this a goof?
You're
That's
not
Kid
doing
A
it,
for me. Kid
decidedly.
A and OK Computer. Like people that I respect that like music would be like, yo, you got to listen to Kid A. And I'm like, this shit's fucking boring. And they'd
It
be
is.
like, no, but they're doing something with the layers. And it's like, I don't give a shit about layers. This shit sucks.
Can I tell you a story about Tom York?
Yes.
Please do.
So, Ken, having spent his young life in New York City, prides himself whenever we go to New York on not noticing all the celebrities walking around. So he'll
Classic. Classic move.
a good
They're
move.
just people, you know?
Exactly. But one time we were walking through New York and he pointed out and said in, like, a booming voice, "Oh, look, it's a tiny Tom York." And I looked over only to realize it was actual Tom York, who is just much tinier in person than we expected. And the look of
That's
sinking
because his
realization
music
on Ken's
looms
face.
so large in the public
It's true.
consciousness.
But for one shining moment, I got to see a look of incredible disappointment and sadness cross Tom York's face, which was something which is a feeling that
Hang
keeps me
on to
warm
that.
at night, you know?
Yeah. I hope that's the last thing I see before I die.
Surely you
Love
can.
that.
Surely you can think of something better.
Nah.
Nah. Smiling
Sorry,
faces
Ken,
of your
Ken
family.
just walked in with such
loved
disappointment.
ones.
Ken just walked in and quietly
I want to
went,
see a look
"He's
of
so
disappointment
little."
on Tom York, who is very small and gets 5 out of 5 pinballs in a bad way.
So wait,
You know what?
saw
I don't
Tom
even wanna
York
give him that.
in New York?
Ah!
He was eating a Yorkshire patty. Minty. Tastes like toothpaste.
He was walking a Yorkie.
Yeah,
was
and
just
he
trying
was
to
reading
help him.
Henry VI Part 2, am I right?
No, you lost it.
Well,
York is the bad guy.
So, Amy, this
Yes.
game,
yes. Oh,
this pinball game,
yes. Just one final thing that I wanted to say about this pinball game that I very much enjoy, which is that it is a game built for the player to just be wrong a lot of the time, as I mentioned, autopiloting into the sun. But for that reason, like, because it's so open and because a player can, like, really just do whatever they want at any point in time, and it really rewards that exploration, the game has to be built in such a way to facilitate that exploration. So I was watching it behind the scenes with, like, all the physics engines that they had to build to make this game actually work. And they're all completely bonkers, in part because, one, they built everything on spheres. 2, there are different gravity systems for each of the planets. 3, the player can go wherever they want. And 4, like, there's different, like, probes and cameras and other things you can do. So you could land your ship on one planet, accidentally jet off of the planet, end up on another planet, fire a probe to be on a third planet. And there's timed things for each planet. So at, like, you know, at 3 minutes, at 5 minutes, at 18 minutes, whatever, there's kind of a thing that happens on each planet. One planet has, like, a black hole in its center, and it's slowly disintegrating with all the pieces falling into the black hole. Another planet is actually 2 planets that are like an hourglass where, like, sand goes from one planet to the other. So there are all these time-based things that have to continue running depending on whatever, like, dumbass thing the player wants to do. And the fact that it all runs and it all runs so seamlessly is honestly just, like, kind of a miracle. So how pinball is this game, I guess, is the question that I am building to. And this game had, because pinball, I think, has a very specific track and, like, you know, a certain number. You know what? Actually, I'm going to backtrack on this. Like in Outer Wilds, when you decide to fly off the planet and you decide that you want to go down to a certain other planet, it is like in Pinball when you are deciding where to aim your pinball, what little alley to fire your pinball down. And I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 pinballs. It's pretty also. They did lights. I lost it, but I'm going to go with 3 out of 5 pinballs. It feels right in my heart. 2 out of 5 pinballs.
I think 3 out of 5 pinballs is a great score. You heard it here first, folks. Outer Wilds. It's a little bit pinball. Radiohead sucks ass. Very pinball. How many dimensions are in this game? Is the question I have. Is it like a 2D thing? I don't know anything about this.
It is a 3D game, and I guess 4D if you count the time elements. But it is but it is very much like a 3D exploration game. So it is I think that probably it's like playing The Witcher or Skyrim or any of those other open world type things where everything is like,
You mean you're getting hella laid?
yeah, you're getting constantly laid.
Mm-hmm.
There's hot tubs. There are cutscenes, like steamy cutscenes. It really takes a left turn in the third act, but you know, the people want what they
You
want.
need the mod for full nudity, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you were making a good point. I just, yeah, you get the mod where you can drag the bathtub away from whatever the fuck his
Gerard?
name is when he's, what's his name? Henry
Gerard?
Cavill? Well, he's
Yes.
he's trying to take a bath with a sexy scorpion, and then it like nibbles on his balls or whatever. You drag the tub away, and you can see it.
Do you think Henry
With-
Cavill shaves his pubes? It seems like maybe he would, but
he
I
absolutely
don't know.
would. Absolutely, he has a personal trimmer.
The better question is, if you're a celebrity that shaves your pubes, why aren't you selling that shit on the internet? I bet you could turn a profit.
Or another question, what's it to anyone to just shave their own pubes and claim that they're someone else's? You know, like I just feel like there's opportunities here.
I'm John Legend. I'm gonna shave my pubes and sell them on the internet.
Whose pubes do you think would get the highest selling price on the pube black market? Like, is there one person?
Timothy Chalamet, because I bet it's like down feathers. I bet it's like really soft.
Timothy Chalamet's pubes are like truffles. You have to go you have to bring a pig to sniff them out.
What a beautiful little bird, man.
Somehow I imagine him just being like a Ken doll, just like perfectly smooth, constant. Anyway, sorry. An aside.
That's why you need the
one
pig.
for me to think about later.
I guess the real question here is, what's your beef with 3 out of 5 pinballs? Because you just gave your game that, but you mentioned earlier that maybe that sucks.
Oh, I thought that you had a beef with 3 out of 5, that you thought we were taking the middle road. But did I imagine that? Have you actually been totally
Willie has a
chill
beef
with 3
with
out of 5?
fun.
I just want everybody to have the least amount of fun as possible. So if 3 out of 5 makes you happy, then I'm against it.
But since you saw that I was struggling and like having a series of small strokes in an attempt to describe what pinball is, yeah. I mean I've said this before,
no, I think
but
3 out of 5 is good.
Okay. I really have been every single week having like a various like existential crisis about what pinball is. I know this is what our show is, but it is, as someone who likes rules and likes order, I'm finding it really difficult. Also because I don't know much about pinball.
Yeah. See, I'm having the opposite experience where I don't think about pinball ever until we're talking right now. And that's the only time it ever crosses my mind, and then I go back to not thinking about it.
Yeah, whereas I'm like fucking like Pepe Sylvia, like levels of red tape and just pieces of paper around my house trying to connect the dots. Just like I'll figure it out one of these days.
So who wants to go next? What else do we got?
Willie, I feel like you go. Yeah, I was gonna say you go.
Great. Thank you for your support.
Well, because you always go last.
Yeah, sometimes you don't even go at all. You try and sneak out the back door.
Ooh, you know me so well. The pinball table that I've brought.
So I just wanted to make sure that you went next.
Oh my god. Oh my god. This interrupting Dylan bit is like something from Mad TV, and I hate it.
Hey, Mad TV was pretty great.
Mad TV was pretty.
I don't think that's
I don't know
true.
if it holds
I think.
up. There were parts.
Okay,
hey,
so
there was
You
Stewie,
guys are
he was
from a
great.
different timeline than I am.
So I don't know how deep we should get into it, but someone I know was. You know what? I shouldn't tell this story. Moving on.
And that, dear listeners, is why you have to follow @IsThisPinball on Twitter, where Dylan tells all of his stories he can't tell. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, let's talk about my pinball table, which is the movie Dazed and Confused that I watched last night. I had never seen it, but I did listen to the soundtrack on cassette very much as a young teenager. It's got all the classics. You got Foghat. You got 2 war songs. Lots of songs about cars being low or slow. Rides, how they go. And it was a pretty good soundtrack. I did bring like a cassette player to school, even though it was the early 2000s, because I had an old dad who was sort of like of the mindset that if you buy something and it's good, it'll last for 30 years. So we had 8-track players and all sorts of really high-end audio equipment from the 70s. And let me talk about this movie. I am so glad that I had the subtitles on, because everybody is just whispering sweet nothings into their chests in this. This is like the height of Richard Linklater? What's his name?
Linklater?
Richard
Linklater?
Linklater? Yeah, he is mumblecore for sure. Everybody's just sort of muttering weird one-liners about like sleeping with underage children or getting drunk. And Kiss is playing in the background at the same time. Great ensemble cast. Ben Affleck is a sexy psychopath, and Mia Jovovich has like 2 lines maybe, and there's not really a plot. It just sort of bounces around to all of these different things that teenagers did in the 70s. I think the big takeaway is that everybody in the 70s, it makes sense that like that's when serial killers started happening, because roaming gangs of children with no accountability seemed to rule the streets. And yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Have either of you seen this movie?
Yeah,
I've seen parts, but I saw it in college and I was very high, so I don't
Yeah.
I don't remember much. But I know I don't like Linklater, so there's
What
that.
don't you like about him?
Well, he's that fucking yutz that did Boyhood, right?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that except that it was filmed over the course of a long time.
Yeah, I got a lot of problems with this guy. They're all sort of vague and hard. They're all vague and hard to define, so I'm not going to get into it. I'm more interested in talking about how of the time this fucking cast is. You got Mila Jovovich, you got Adam Goldberg and Anthony Rapp.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
like
yeah.
Anthony
just
Rapp
like when
is
did
in
this
it?
shit come out? Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck. This
Back
is,
before his
Shit, I
brother
don't
was
know.
writing misogynistic plays where women function strictly as objects and usually have to die to develop a male character.
how is it different than most of the plays that are currently produced?
Look, all I'm
Gotcha.
saying is when Sam Shepard blows up a woman, she's got a full arc before it happens.
I do really feel like mid-2000s theater was all about sort of trying to prove that misogyny is bad by putting up the most misogynistic thing you possibly can.
Yeah,
and then
dude,
just
it was
being like, look, and it's like, well, you wrote that. You thought those things. What are you talking about?
it's Michael Cera. It's like everyone imagines that the perfect man is a Michael Cera woman, a Michael Cera guy who objectifies women without sexualizing them, like Charlie Kaufman.
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Kaufman is the master at objectifying women without sexualizing them. It's incredible.
I mean, he does do some
I mean that in a
sexualizing,
bad
though.
way.
There's some...
Yeah,
I mean, it's like self-hating sexualization, which is incredible. It's like truly a feat to
Like
watch.
the jerk-off scene in Adaptation.
Yes.
Yeah, but then consider Diane Weiss in Synecdoche.
I honestly don't remember
I don't know
anything
what
about
that
that
is.
movie. I
It's
remember,
great. Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's great.
I remember there's a house that's constantly on fire. That's all I remember about it. An apartment?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh,
Anyway,
you know what
sorry.
else? Dazed and Confused, they have close-ups of people playing pinball in it. So
Perfect.
that's pretty pinball. I give it 4 out of 5 pinballs in a neutral way.
Does the cassette, could you rate the cassette on pinballs versus the movie?
Oh yeah, soundtrack gets 5 out of 5 pinballs in a very good way on cassette. Other
Great.
mediums probably take one pinball off for like the more digital it gets. So like CDs down 1, and then like buying it on iTunes is down 1, and then streaming it on YouTube is down 1.
So wait, partially it is so highly rated on cassette because, like a pinball machine, it is relatively antiquated and built on like just like a completely analog system that's slowly going archaic.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I got a
go for it.
question. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say that
No.
I had my own. Oh, sorry. No, you go. Hey,
No, I'm going to change the subject. So you stick on cassettes, and then I'll circle back around.
it was just one quick aside, which is that I appreciate that, Willie, for you, the cassette that you had that the movie you never saw was for Dazed and Confused, whereas for me it was Dirty Dancing, where it was the only CD my parents had in the car for years. And I hated it very much, and it wasn't until that I saw the movie that it felt like it really resonated with me. Anyway, it's fine. It wasn't that good. Dylan, what please
liked
take the...
For me, the soundtrack was Space Jam and Shrek. Also, Shrek's soundtrack actually very
Shrek's
good.
soundtrack is really good.
Fire.
It's very
Both of those
good.
slap really hard.
It
Any
has, like,
soundtrack
eels
with a
on
Leonard
it.
Cohen cover, I'm on board for. But so what I want to ask is, have any of you see? I didn't see The Godfather until pretty late in life.
Never seen it.
I've never seen it.
Great. So, oh, perfect. Okay, so I'll speak to this, and then I'll pass. You'll see why this relates to Dazed and Confused. Watching The Godfather as an adult with a like a comprehensive understanding of American like television and film culture fucking sucks because shot for shot the whole goddamn movie. Like, the horse's head is going to end up in the blanket. The day of my daughter's wedding, you got to take it like a man. Sonny at the toll booth. It's all fucking coming. And when it happens, you're like, that was when that happened the first time. So my question about Dazed and Confused is, Matthew McConaughey, is it like, it can't possibly have the resonance that it would have initially because the all right so well, right? Or was it fun?
No, it was actually fun because Matthew McConaughey, he's just really cute. I wouldn't say he's good necessarily in stuff all the time, but it's like there's a reason that this movie made him famous. Even though I know all right, and like those lines that get quoted aren't even like his best lines really. He's just actually fun to watch in that movie because he's like a weird older guy who still hangs out with these high schoolers, but he's like a good version of that. Whereas Ben Affleck's character is like getting held back, and he's older too, but he's not mature, so he just like wants to beat up the freshmen again. But Matthew McConaughey's character, they're like a reflection of each other. It's like the yin and yang of like weird older guys hanging out with high schoolers.
Hey, I have a question.
He's just a joy to watch.
Is Matthew McConaughey our Burt Reynolds? Just in terms of like general affability? No?
On screen, or are you talking in real life?
No, I
Think.
guess on screen. I don't know too much. I realized that I only knew Burt Reynolds through Celebrity Jeopardy for a while, and then I finally watched like Smokey and the Bandit, and I was like, oh, I can see why folks were like, who's this guy?
Now,
Like
when you
in a
say you
sexy
knew
way.
Burt Reynolds through Celebrity Jeopardy, are you actually talking about Norm Macdonald?
Yes, I am. In fact, I am. But then I watched a movie with Burt Reynolds, and similar to, I guess, the feeling of The Godfather, I was like, oh, here's this the first time. It's the same guy. Uncanny.
Burt Reynolds hated his best movie.
Which one's his best movie?
What was his best movie?
Boogie Nights, obviously.
I've actually never
that
seen
movie's
it.
great.
Oh,
it's
it's
good.
so good. Early
Who's that
P.T.
director?
Anderson is great. Paul Thomas
Yeah.
Anderson.
Back
Boogie
when
Nights
like
is
people
great.
could still tell him no.
Yeah, Hard Eight is great.
I think once
Magnolia is
he
great.
got complete creative control. He really spirals into like self-indulgence in a way that is borderline unwatchable.
Yeah, There Will Be Blood is the last thing he did that's tolerable. Everything after that is dog
And that's
shit.
borderline. I think that's
Yeah.
borderline.
It's true.
Man.
It does go
Well,
on a little bit. It's
there-
a little too much.
And the thing is, Magnolia and Boogie Nights are both very fucking long movies, but they're packed with shit happening.
Yeah, they don't feel long at all.
Like Magnolia's 3 hours long, and it's like start to finish. The tempo doesn't let up. What's his name? That old guy that was the library detective on Seinfeld is great.
That's an actor name that literally only you would know. And
Yes.
in fact, he might not even have a name until you speak it, I think.
Wait. No, I'm. Oh, he's so good.
It's like some sort of dark magic.
He's some sort of eldritch
hang
horror
on,
that
hang
only
on. Philip
must
Baker
be
Hall.
some-
Philip Baker Hall.
And now he exists, just like that. It's crazy.
Okay, Philip Baker
It's like
Hall's
the
in it,
Mandela
and
effect,
Jason
and then we all
Robards is in
remember
it.
him.
Jason Robards is playing like an old man dying of cancer, but he's he's the tough guy in Once Upon a Time in the West. You know what I'm saying?
No, how
No,
many
I
pinballs
don't.
does he get?
Magnolia, 5 out of 5 pinballs.
No, Philip Baker Hall.
Philip Baker Hall, 6 out of 5 pinballs.
No, we can't go over.
Also,
I'm shutting this down. Dylan, you're under arrest. You're under arrest for having too much fun.
Philip Baker Hall gets 5 out of 5 pinballs.
Also, are we rating?
In what way?
Why is he pinball? Why is he 5 out of 5 pinballs means he is literally pinball, right? I want our metric to mean
literally
something.
pinball.
I want this to mean something.
I want to know in what way.
In
Good,
what way
bad,
is he
or neutral?
pinball? It makes me. He makes me feel alive, like pinball.
Are there
No,
any?
I'm shutting this down. Dylan, what have you brought for us today, Dylan?
Oh, I'm so excited to tell you about what I've brought today. Let me
That
paint
fills
a
me
pic-
with dread.
That does not. bode
Let me
well.
paint a picture for you. The year is 2015. A young, horny Dylan is bored at work, and he's perusing JSTOR because his work
God.
computer has access, and he's curious about
Insufferable.
the sort of alleged shit fetish that Mozart has.
Oh.
You did this, Willie. You did this. So he finds an article about Mozart's shit fetish, which turns out isn't possibly a fetish at all. What it could be is that German humor has a tendency to be scatological. So what I ended up finding back in the day was an article about the precedent for Mozart's shit talk, which, by the way, he was in love with his cousin, and his letters to his cousin are hilarious. They're like, "Good night, my sweet, sleep tight, shit in your bed and put it on your nose." But the biggest precedent I could find was this character from Low German folk theater named Hanswurst. And perhaps that's pronounced Hanswurst I don't know how to speak German, but this shit's funny. So I'm going to say Hanswurst, and if anybody corrects me, cool.
You can email us.
So the Hanswurst character actually finds his origin in the 15th century. The first incident of him being written down that we have is from 1494. Hanswurst was appropriated by Martin Luther in 1541 for his pamphlet Wider Hanswurst, which railed against a Catholic duke.
That was a turn I did not expect.
Yeah. But anyway, so Hanswurst's main bit is that he eats too much and then shits everywhere. He's sort of a stock
Classic
comedy
goof.
character. But yeah. So it said his humor is often sexual or scatological. This is from Wikipedia. But yeah, basically he would eat a lot and shit everywhere. He was like a commedia character, but for dumb Germans. And in the 18th century, everyone was so upset by Hanswurst, and the people of Vienna in particular were trying to class up their theater a little bit. So they staged a public banishment of Hanswurst, and he was excommunicated from the town. And this was the last time he appeared on stage in Vienna for like 200 years.
So wait, I just want to
There was
make sure I
a
have this right.
Hanswurst revival, is what you're saying?
No, wait. First, I want to talk about like the public like exorcism of a fictional character. Yes, where they were like, he must leave.
Yeah.
Okay, that is amazing. I kind of
Isn't
wish
that
any
great?
sort of, like, yes. I appreciate it also like as a possible way to like just get rid of like any sort of like I just like to imagine like a modern analog where like when any like public figure is like quote unquote canceled, that like we just have like a thing where we just literally just have them leave town, like just some sort of effigy build or burning. Just there's so many ways to employ this. Sorry, I got really excited about a hypothetical.
We kind of did it to Louis C.K. and then he fucked off to Israel.
Oh, that's true.
No, but it's great. So there's a picture of Hanswurst on the Wikipedia page. He's got like one of those like tall like Puritan looking hats. He's got a big nose and a mustache, and he's a little fat guy. I don't know. I mean, stock characters are really funny. I have a lot of actor friends who are into commedia dell'arte in like a really fucking annoying way. Where they're like, oh, commedia dell'arte.
An annoying actor, you don't say.
The Italian tradition of comedy really is the.
And they're like giving you a back rub. They're like, get out of here.
I assume it's like a different version of like the improv crowd. Like it's the improv crowd from a different time period. You know what I mean?
No, the improv crowd is chaotic neutral, completely unhinged. No similarities between one improver to another.
I think improvers in general are just like the impulse of horniness and desperation made manifest into human form.
Yeah,
like it's just
fun fact, listeners. Improv is how me and Dylan met.
Actually, wait.
We had a team,
real brief...
the Improvaholics. Very good
God.
name. Everybody's good at naming stuff.
Brief aside about improv. Willie jumped ship because he transferred to a cooler school where kids smoked cigarettes. But I stayed on for the full 4 years at the summer camp we went to college at. And I became president of said Improvaholics. And how is
one elected president of Improvaholics specifically?
You bully everyone else into it.
Nice.
You shake them upside down until all their lunch money falls out, all their votes fall out, and then...
Amy, you don't think I can bully people into electing me president? I was president of the theater club at the same time.
Your own tiny empire.
It was. If the stakes had been higher, you could... Never mind. But anyway, my point is that every year at the top of the year, you'd have people come into improv and they'd try to improvise. But what it really was just like pure id spilling all over the stage. So like if they hated their parents, that was the character. Or if they were like horny and pissed, that was the character. Or if they thought everyone was an asshole, that was the character. And it was just like everybody accidentally letting the worst aspect of themselves leak out onto the stage in the name of comedy. Pretty good stuff.
To me, that sounds actually very much like commedia with like archetypal characters, like that you know who's coming in. Once they start doing it, you're like, oh, I know this guy. You know?
Yeah, but instead of having a mask to represent that archetype, the mask you're wearing is supposed to be the most deeply held private things in your life.
Improv out of pinballs.
4.
Yeah, in a neutral way.
No, 4 in a bad way.
In a bad way? Wow.
Yeah, well, because the other thing, too, is, and this is another aside, but improv ruined comedy.
How so?
You know what I mean?
Talk about
Remember back when like, well, don't even get me started on UCB because we will be here for hours. But back when, like, improving comedians were doing multiple takes with different punchlines in their movies, and, like, you started having the, like, gag reel at the end where, like Will Ferrell would be saying funnier shit than made it into the movie, but everyone was breaking, so they couldn't use it. And then all of a sudden, everybody in every comedy movie is an improver, which means that, you know, fuck the writers, I guess.
Oh, so that's what's in your craw.
Oh,
no.
Actually,
I mean,
for any art to be actually worth merit, somebody had to drink a bottle of wine and scrawl it out on a legal notepad.
Nobody said scrawl.
Well,
who said scrawl?
I also heard that part of the reason for the rise of these movies was the change from like film to digital film, like that it the ability to just like basically leave something running and not having to worry about like literally running out of tape meant that they could just like, you know, shoot untold hours worth of material with like no repercussions. besides like some poor editor having to actually go through and like, edit together a film. So like the fact that like they had just like free reign to do whatever with no material consequences, that like they're like, might as well just try as much as we can, just throw everything against the wall and see what sticks, which I'm guessing compounded with like the rise of various improv teams across the US, like just was a bad combination that has led
Right.
to
Best in Show is pretty good.
Best
Mighty
in
Wind
Show was
is
pretty good. I like, well, okay, that's true, and there's a lot of good stuff that's come out of the Christopher Guest shit, but it's crazy watching Spinal Tap because you're like, oh, he just made a career out of that.
Yeah.
No, but the thing about UCB is they turned like generating new talent and teaching comedians into one of the factories from the jungle.
Oh God.
he was
That's
wading
really
through
dark,
blood
but
and shit.
I do agree.
Look, they make people
speaking of-
they make people work the tackle booth for no pay to get a spot on a low-level improv show that no one's coming to see. And they shut down in New York without giving any notice to anybody that was wondering where their fucking paycheck was going to be coming from.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of great things to say about UCB either. But I will say this, Dylan, are you reviewing this Shit Man, or are you reviewing Mozart? What are you reviewing? It's a Shit Man, right? Or
I assume it's Shit Man.
It's Hanswurst. Yeah, Hansworth, 1 out of 5 pinballs. He's a man. He's not pinball.
Is there nothing about him that's pinball?
Pretty much nothing. Because the thing is, here's the thing about pinball. When the pinball goes down the drain and you can't see it anymore, it doesn't come back. You get another ball, and it's understood that that's a new ball. Otherwise, how would we have the multi-ball? So the end of your ball in pinball is the end of the ball as we know it. When Hanswurst eats a whole lamb live on stage, he shits that out.
that does not sound very pinball to me. I have to agree.
So 1 out of 5 pinballs, but in a good way.
I support it. Hey, Dylan, Amy.
Yes.
Do you want to come with me to the mail table?
I would love to.
Great. So, I have this email sitting in the inbox from Hannah K. Thank you for listening, Hannah. The subject is argument. Pinball is inherently sexy. I don't think we're going to argue that. I think we can all agree.
Is that the
What's up,
entirety
Pinball
of it?
Wizards? No. If time and interest allows, may I suggest reviewing the Sonic franchise? There are many a game to choose from, although Sonic Adventure 2 may be my favorite shitty game of all time. This is very much right up my alley, Hannah. Thank you. Also, the Sonic movie, possibly as well. Like Sonic acts like a ball and smashes things, he's got to go fast and relies on strange gravity mechanics. I love Sonic, and I would like to do a very thorough review of Sonic Spinball, which is a game that I sunk hours into and really deeply hate. So that'll be coming down the pipeline. Hannah continues, also maybe Donut County is an option to dive more into anthropomorphic animal games and the statements they make, like, let's dig into animals, gentrification, and also holes. I don't know what that means. Does anybody know about this Donut County?
I do know about this game. It's like Katamari Damacy, except instead of being a ball that gets larger and larger as you get more things, it is a hole that you move around the screen, and as it absorbs more and more objects, it gets larger and larger. So you are in control of the hole, and you are slowly, again, rather than Katamari building new planets, you are like a great personified, or I guess not personified, an actual version of a great existential dread of everything falling into a giant hole in despair. But it's also like multicolored and like really cheerful in appearance and kind of goofy in tone, which kind of counteracts the whole "hey, you're a giant hole eating everyone you know you and love" sort of game mechanic. I wouldn't say it's very
Sounds very
pinball.
bizarre. Not very pinball.
No, it seems kind of antithetical to what pinball celebrates. In that,
Yeah,
rather
instead
than,
of don't get it in the hole, it's get it in the hole.
exactly.
Well,
The
pinball,
yeah.
sometimes you have to knock it into a little hole, and then it, like, pops back out.
That's true, but
That's
this
true.
is less
That's
about
different.
but that's about like knocking something into a goal. In this particular game, you are the hole. Like it's as if you were the space in between, like where you lose the pinball between the flippers. Like it's like as if a game was entirely dedicated to that space, and you are that space,
That
and everything's
sounds
going to fall
truly
into it.
cursed and not very pinball at all.
It's definitely a little cursed, but it's a game that I enjoy. It is a fun game, but it is definitely like 1 out of 5 pinballs. But Willie,
Amy,
I would actually yes.
The further this show stretches on, the more I'm realizing that our Venn diagrams for video games overlap almost not at all.
I know. But that's
Do you hate this game, Dylan?
No, I've seen it. I've seen pictures of it. I considered Bay and I considered buying it once, but I've never played it, and I was suspect.
it's a really short game, and when it finally I like the game. I thought it was a fun diversion, but like if you're gonna go for a fun diversion game, go for Untitled Goose Game. Like this is the Donut County is really sweet and like kind of goofy, but it's when it finally starts to feel like it's getting going, it ends. And a lot of the challenges, at least when I played it at launch, weren't particularly difficult. Like you kind of figure out the
That's
mechanic.
how I felt about Goose Game, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Goose Game is
We
kind
should
of
get
similar
into
sort of
Goose
thing.
Game.
Let's save it,
Now
for,
we
let's
should-
save it for another episode.
Yeah, we should get into Goose Game another time.
Continuing with
happy
this
to.
email. Actual pinball, although what is actual pinball, like your style, Hannah, frustrates me to no end. I really just remember digging for quarters with my siblings in burger joints and then playing as many rounds as we could, sometimes turning it into a multiplayer experience that would end very badly point-wise. Like one kid at one button and one at another, and another hovering, maybe shaking the machine and feeling very left out. It was me. I'm the middle child. I have played a very expensive collector's edition of Star Trek pinball before, though. No big deal. At a weird Christmas party where the whole time I was playing it, I was so scared that I would break it or something. Anyway, thanks for the fun talks while I've been quarantined with my family and furloughed from work. Thank you for writing, Hannah. That very funny and good email gets 5 out of 5 pinballs in a good way.
Willie, I feel like the hitting on Sonic information though is so incredibly up your alley. Are you going to be talking about this at a later time, or like are you saving this for future talks, or is there anything that you want?
Yeah, I think
touch
I'll
on?
do like a good review of Sonic stuff. Off the top of my head, I don't think would do it the justice that it deserves.
I actually have a Sonic game that I could bring too, so let's coordinate.
Great, I love it.
I only have
You know
Sonic.
Dr.
Shall we wrap
Robotnik's
it up?
Mean Bean Machine?
Oh, do I ever? Let me tell you, that game rules. Suck it, Tetris. Give me the beans.
Give me the beans, also known as
I need
Kirby's
those
Avalanche.
beans.
Also, there's like 3 versions of the game, but Sonic and Kirby. Sonic is probably the least Japanese feeling of them.
Yeah, Mean Bean Machine rules for sure.
Oh yeah,
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Well, I think we should wrap it up. What do y'all think? Any final thoughts on anything we covered today?
I mean, no
No.
final
I'll take your
thoughts.
deafening silence as a no, and that this
I'm honestly
podcast
just like
episode has run its course.
I
mean,
was
don't-
so excited to hear Willie's soul leave his body when Dylan dove into Mozart's shit fetish, or possible alleged shit fetish. Like the quiet O that Willie said. And I honestly am mildly the fact that it ended up talking about Hanswurst, who I'm now completely enamored with, was a pleasant surprise. And I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate that turn.
Yeah, I really appreciate that as well. I think it's a good message, listener, that if you want to be a weird little shit boy, that you can.
And then if you get run out of town, you'll probably experience a revival later when people finally understand what you're about, It's nice.
Yeah. It's like the thing that Hanswurst makes me think is like, you can take a shit or you can fuck my ass. You know what I mean? You can take a shit or you can fuck my ass. Or you can take a shit or you can fuck my ass.
Well, that's all for this week. Bye, everybody.
You can take a shit or you can fuck my ass.
We'll see you next week.
It's actually really catchy.
Bye.
Bye.
You can take a shit or you can fuck my ass.
It's really catchy.
Well, I didn't write the music.
I know, but it's still catchy. Do you know how many, for a full week, I went around with your fucking, rocking around the piece of string, for a full fucking week, and only that line.
Well, you gotta bring out the Christmas
You
CDs.
got a whole line of vulgar related things you can sing. Did your vocal warm-ups as well?
Willie, were you planning